political tensions running high in America, colleges all over the country have seen protests and marches leading up to the 2020 presidential election. To help students have the means to express their political opinions, here at East Carolina University, meetings and discussions are held to help have an open dialogue on campus. Someone who has been at the center of providing a space for political discourse at ECU is Alex Dennis, the Assistant Director of the Center for Leadership and Civic Engagement.
Part of my job here at the university is to put on programs for students to participate in political discourse. And so we have done a number of different programs throughout my time working in CLCE. We did a series called Politics in Our Space. We did a series called Race in Our Space. And then most recently, we have a series called Dinner and Discourse.
Having these kinds of programs available allows students to speak freely with people who share their ideals and political affiliations, and with those on the other side of the political spectrum, allowing them to hear others' thoughts and feelings on many different issues.
Have a program when you're going to be talking about political issues, current events, anything controversial, to set up the guidelines for civil discourse. Don't talk over one another. Share I statements, making sure that you are using proper body language, not rolling your eyes when other people are speaking. All of those kind of guidelines we always go over at the beginning of any of these programs. And so, no, I really, in those programs that I put on, I don't see, it's amazing that, in a country where you hop on Twitter or Facebook and people are at each other's throats, that on a college campus, we're able to have civil dialogue, disagree with one another, and that's okay.
All over the country, guest political speakers are brought in and are met with protests and controversy. Students argue and yell at each other, mirroring much of what happens all over the country every day.
I think we do a wonderful job at ECU as far as trying to make sure that, if we do bring someone or a student org brings a speaker to campus, to make sure that we are thinking through, number one, safety of everyone involved on campus, and also creating the space for the supporters of that person to rally and support that person, but also to create space for counter protesters as well.
Like any political talk, things do get somewhat out of hand due to political differences, but the staff of the CLCE do their best to not allow things to escalate and want this to be a place of open dialogue.
Of the day, we're all Americans, and like you said, I think we need to be open to listening to both sides and listening to everyone's perspective and their story and their experiences, and that's really what we try to do at our programs, is just create the space that people feel safe and welcome to share their experiences and their opinions on things without generalizing things, without stereotyping people, and just by trying to be civil towards one another.
It is very important for not just students, but for everyone to be able to feel comfortable to ask questions and have a healthy exchange of ideals, not just yell at each other accomplishing nothing. This has been Jess Sabin with Pirate News Network. The coronavirus epidemic has forced everyone to stay in their homes in quarantine. If you do go out, you have to wear masks and gloves to protect yourself. And social distancing has become a common practice for most Americans.
That's interesting. That's been a more interesting part of this whole process is I am wearing a mask, I am wearing gloves, he is wearing a mask, but he doesn't wear gloves.
But for some people, they are even more restricted. On February 16th, my father completely ruptured his Achilles playing touch football in the local park with his friends. And now, on top of the regular restrictions quarantine has put on everyone, he is even more limited and will be for the foreseeable future.
Well, from start to finish, I was told from the date of this surgery that it could be up to a year before you're fully recovered from this type of injury.
Despite being very limited, in some ways it has been better that he ruptured his Achilles when he did, as the quarantine has made it so that he isn't missing as much of the regular things that he normally would be.
Helpful, I think, in that I don't have to go to work, so I'm able to stay at home. If my foot begins to bother me, it's easy enough to just go to the couch and put my foot up. It's easy for me to do all my exercises that I need to do. So, and it's odd that actually the whole quarantine period has, I think, been a little beneficial to my healing process.
Despite the quarantine actually being helpful in some respects, it still hasn't been easy for my dad, as he still can't do everything that he wishes he could.
Well, the quarantine has us all stuck at home, and your mom, my wife, we're very social people. We like to spend time with other folks. The quarantine has impacted that. Usually, I'd be taking walks, doing exercises. You and I would be maybe going out for a run during the day. Can't do any of those sorts of things because of my ruptured Achilles.
There are still some things that my dad can do that his Achilles hasn't affected, and with his progress with physical therapy, he is starting to get strength back in his leg.
It's been a losing battle against the quarantine 15, but in terms of my workouts, as you said, I've been able to do upper body. I want to do lower body and actually just got some permission to start doing some lower body exercises, but I definitely feel a difference in my surgically repaired leg. It is a lot weaker. I'm going to have a lot of work to build up to where I was prior to the surgery.
However, at his current stage, the most important thing is to not overdo it and to take things slow. Jonathan Whitson, MD, Director of Cardiac and Pulmonary Rehabilitation at Rusk Rehabilitation Center at NYU Langone Medical Center, has said that pushing yourself too soon could end up doing nothing but more damage and hurt you in the long run.
I think it's a matter of finding a balance between doing leg exercises that I used to do, but not pushing it too far.
My father has made some great progress in his recovery, and has already moved from the first boot where he couldn't walk or put any weight on his leg at all, to a new walking boot, and will soon be switching to something that will allow him some more freedom.
I'm pretty excited. I should be able to get out of this boot in a week and a half, which is good news for me. And then I think I'll be just in a regular shoe, and again continuing with my therapy.
Jeff Sabin reporting for Pirate News.